Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning, good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And I am so excited because this month we are focusing much of what we're talking about on the program on LinkedIn and how to really use it to our benefit as a professional, as a job seeker, as a way to connect with our peers from around the world, as a way to build our networks, all of these various things. And so I have so much fun because I love LinkedIn. I mean, LinkedIn is the professional site. You're not going to see a lot of the posts that you see on Facebook, heaven forbid. But it is so much fun to be able to talk with experts this month on how to really, truly optimize your use of LinkedIn. And I tell you what, I'm learning so much. So please join me in welcoming today's guest, Toni Bubb, to our program today. Welcome, Toni.
Thank you so much, Deb, for having me. I'm so excited about this.
I love it. We were chatting before the program and we thought, oh, we're just going to get along really well. So let me tell people a little bit about you and then we'll dive into this because it's going to take the full time to really cover this topic. So Toni Bubb, known as the professional lover of life on LinkedIn, quit her job over 6 years ago and moved to an island without plans or knowing anyone. She literally booked the flight from work, went to the airport, and picked up a suitcase and some clothes in Miami. After attempting to get 2 tech startups off the ground, going through a spiritual awakening, and hearing other people's stories, she discovered her superpower. Toni uses healing and transformational coaching to help thought leaders and businesses gain clarity in their brand and services, and she can do it quickly. Toni makes the process fun along the way by incorporating engaging content where she is known to sing, rap, get serious, and make you laugh, creating sustainable results. Toni is an impact and creative consultant who loves serving people and brands that are making a difference in our world, but most importantly, in our souls. So again, Toni, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
We really are going to have so much fun talking today. And, and it is about, we have to be healthy here and here before we can be successful in business,
Right.
and so that's what I love is you really do a combination of these things. So tell us a little bit more how you really did discover that this was your passion in life.
Yeah. Well, like I said, after I kind of went to the island and was going through my own transformation and a lot of frustration because I had gotten burned out and my body was falling apart. So I wasn't even 30 and I had chronic anxiety, panic attacks daily. And I was trying to find natural ways to cure myself. And I spent thousands, probably tens of thousands of dollars trying to solve that. And out of that came eventually a solution, which was one of my tech startups. And I tried getting that off the ground. And as I was promoting it, I started to write about my experiences on LinkedIn and eventually started to do video. And I found that it was very healing for me to talk about these experiences, but then also people were making changes just because they read a piece of my content or they saw one of my videos. And people started to reach out to me to ask them to coach them. Now, I've always coached throughout my career. I've been a hiring manager and a recruiter. But I was trying to get a tech startup off the ground. So I was like, okay, I'll take on a couple of clients.
Yeah, sure.
And it was interesting. It wasn't until last year that I really started to see this pattern that almost everyone that I was coaching was going through this very similar pattern. And that's when I discovered it was so much deeper. It's not just life coaching. It's not just career coaching. It's transformational coaching. And I was seeing people go through an awakening that once they had this aha moment, they couldn't go back. And many of them were wanting to start their own businesses, or they already had their own businesses, but they were stuck and they couldn't. I would ask them, what do you do? And they couldn't clearly state what they do and how they do it.
And I kind of do. Yeah. You know, not good.
No. And a lot of these people, and I started to discover I was attracting people that were in the wellness industry, that were other healers or coaches, or just really trying to make a difference in the world. And sometimes those people, because they want to give and help so much, they forget about how to monetize their gifts. And I have to go in and remind them that you are worth, like, this is the most important thing in people's lives. It's worth the most money, in my opinion. And because I'm so creative, I found that I couldn't just so I dabbled in just doing the coaching for a little bit, but I felt like part of my soul was missing. And that's where I get creative with how I market myself, by doing the singing and by doing the creative raps and the poems and the writing. For me, that's an important part. And to do that with my clients, to keep that creativity and that fun involved in the process, because it can be very stressful and daunting to have to kind of get to those limiting blocks and beliefs that they don't want to talk about. And that's really what's going to get them unstuck to have their business be successful.
Well, and of course, many small business owners and entrepreneurs think, well, we can't have fun. You know, we have to be working. And actually, you know, that's what many people, you know, well, we can't have fun. You know, you can't be laughing and do this. And running your own business is a very serious business, you know, even if it's you or if you have employees, you know, all these various things. And I think we get caught up in being serious and thinking, well, that's how we are professional. You know, we even to the point of sometimes how we dress. You know, we're very buttoned up and women are, you know, wearing business suits and men are wearing suits and ties and, you know, all those various things. And you really just want to have on a pair of jeans and a t-shirt. You know, you can still look very professional, but we get so caught up in being Miss or Mr. Serious that we forget that, you know, we should love what we're doing. And so shouldn't that mean that it's also fun?
Right. Yeah. I mean, you hit it like right on the mark. And that's why even when I have my clients take the Discovery Questionnaire, I ask them to tell me what their sense of humor is. And I will actually either find content or develop my own content and send them that, you know, through the coaching and consulting to kind of, especially if they're having a hard week or just to motivate them and inspire them and say, this process is fun. It's not super serious, but I want you to also see your value in your work and understand that you can make money too. That's the biggest, I think, limiting belief is people honestly don't believe they can make money doing what they love to do.
Right. You know, I actually had somebody tell me that one time when they asked me if I would speak to their group, because then I said, okay, my fee is, and I got silence and they said, well, but you love what you do. Why do you want paid? I said, I also love my house too. And my mortgage people need to be paid.
Right. That's such an excellent point. I actually had, I turned down an offer recently because it was a great business concept. It was a startup, but they're like, oh, so we want you to do this. And I was like, oh, so you want me to do commission only? I was like, sorry, you know, this is my minimum monthly retainer. You know, just because I love what I do and I have a passion and I want to change the world. That's something I also discovered too. I used to have this mindset like, oh, I'm going to change the world. But I realized that in itself can be dangerous too. Like,
oh, that's a scary thing.
Yes. It puts so much pressure on ourselves and it's unrealistic really. You know, you build your tribe, like you were talking about, you build your tribe, you build authentic, real relationships, and that those people then feel better about themselves. And then it all spreads organically.
Well, what we wanted to talk about today is, you know, obviously all of this, and it all ties together, but you use video a lot on LinkedIn. And it's one of those things that is obviously there, but so many people don't even know that it exists. And and then it comes back to the, we can't have fun. So you end up being the talking head if you're doing the video, and not having fun, and all of those. So we really wanted to talk about how to create authentic video on LinkedIn. And so let's kind of start with, why should we even put video on LinkedIn? Because we're thinking, well, no, that's on Facebook. So why should we have it on LinkedIn?
Right. People actually get to know you on a more personal level. It's almost like they feel like you're talking to them, and they start to build a relationship with you. And in business, especially where trust is one of the things that people have the biggest problem with these days, they can tell if they watch you enough times that you're either full of crap or you're not. And if you're not, that's someone that eventually, once they have a need, that they would want to do business with. And so it's developing that personal relationship that sometimes words can't always portray, because they get to see your face and your expressions, and it's like they're sitting with you in person.
Right. And I love that you mentioned that you're talking to one person, because when you're doing the LinkedIn video, you are just talking to that one person who's viewing. Now, it might be viewed by thousands of people, but it's just one person at a time.
Right. Yeah. It's going into it with intention, I think. And a lot of people are always scared, like, where do I start, or how do I be authentic? And it's like, think about it if you were just having a conversation with someone in person, or your best friend, really. And people make fun of me because they're like, oh, you're always so bubbly and you're all over the place and you're crazy. And I'm like, well, talk to one of my really good friends. I'm actually really like that in person, so it just, they see the video every day. So, but I've also kept things real when I was going through a really difficult time. When my business things, we had a promise for investors and we didn't get that. I also talked realistically about that, because you can't just show all of the good moments and all of the highlights. That's not realistic. And most of the time people are scared to talk about those things.
Right. Yeah, because we think, that people will think, oh, they're not smart enough. They're not good enough. They're a failure, and so we hide those things. But as you said, it makes us human, because all of us fail. All of us have bad days, bad ideas, bad whatevers. And it comes back to what you were saying about trust. If it is somebody who is perfect, well, I don't want to work with them because I'm not perfect.
It's not relatable.
Right.
And it also shows that when you can go, this is why I kind of recommend a coach sometimes, because if you are working for an organization, you do have to be careful. You don't want to just be spilling all the beans. I mean, you have to be tactful about it. And that's where I think on Facebook, people get a little overboard about going into
little
details.
TMI.
Yeah. So there's a way to, sometimes a general rule we have is like, get through the wave and then go back and talk about it. And it shows resilience though. And it shows that you can go through something and then you can go back and give people advice on actually how to get out of it, or how to pivot, or how to change, because that's what it's all about.
Right. So how do we get started with video? Because people are thinking, oh, do I have to have special equipment? Do I have to have special backdrops? And it's funny because I'm always experimenting with things. There might be other programs where I'm going to have a backdrop, different lighting, all sorts of stuff. But one of the things people always ask me is, isn't it expensive? Don't you have to have a really expensive camera, and all of those things?
I like how you said camera.
Camera. And the microphone. It's kind of out of the screen right now.
You do have a pretty badass microphone.
I've got a big guy microphone, a big boy.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. So this is where I like to keep things simple. And this is where I found with my clients, a lot of times when they come to me, they've read all this stuff. They've paid tons of money to go through all these programs and all that. And I'm like, let's just keep it simple in the beginning. If you have a good smartphone, either an iPhone or Samsung, I have a Galaxy 8. People ask me all the time. They're like, what kind of, equipment do you use? And I've been using my Samsung Galaxy 8 for a long time. I have upgraded. I do have a tripod now. You can get them on Amazon. It has a little ring, like a selfie ring and everything. but keep it simple. And really, especially with LinkedIn, they want to see eye contact in the camera. But a lot of the times before you even get to that part, people are like, where do I start with content? And I say, just tell your story. Just tell a little bit about yourself, why you decided to get into the career or the business that you're doing. And just kind of tell people you want to start having them come along on the journey. And start answering some questions about the industry that you've seen challenges in. And that's basically where you start. You start with your story and you keep it simple.
You know, and for me, and maybe this is because I'm so social, right? You know, I'm like really shy. It's hard for me when I don't have someone there. So like you and I'm talking to you. So if I'm just recording it and there's nobody there, I think I lose some of my animation. Now, there are people who would say that's a good thing. But it is hard for me when I'm just talking to nothing.
Interesting. I always smile right before I start. First of all, smiling, even if it's a fake smile, creates natural endorphins. We all know that. And it just kind of gets you in that mood. Or even if you're not going to sing or dance, you know, I sing and stuff in mine, listen to some music to get you in a good mood. And just get your energy kind of going. Because I found that even when I go to do a video and I wasn't doing a rap or singing, but I was listening to music before, it helped to keep my energy up.
Well, I'm going to put you on the spot. We need a little example of singing or rapping.
I was wondering if you're going to do that.
I know. I mean, you know, and I didn't even tell you that, you know, so yeah, I really did just, okay, we need to hear something.
It's so funny. So usually I type them out. So I get inspired and then I write them and then I type them out and I usually have it in front of me. But for the first time, I actually did it at an event. So I did have to memorize one. So I'll give you a little bit. It's about stress. Okay, here we go. As I'm taking a bath, that's when I write my raps. I'd rather relax, but God ain't having that. When I get inspired, I've got to listen. Doesn't matter if I'm tired or in the kitchen. Today we're going to have some extra fun. When I say stress, you say run. Stress.
Run.
Stress.
Run.
So everybody, are you ready to sing? We're going to talk about how being selfish can be a good thing. When I say stress, you say run. Stress.
Run.
Stress.
Run.
Because the Lord is calling us to have more fun. So there's more to that one, but
I love it. I love it. So cool. Yay.
Thank you.
You know, and it's funny because as you were doing that, you're giving a very good impression of what, you know, of how it would be to work with you. You know, and so we know, okay, you're going to be fun to work with, but you also in the context, I know how we're going to be doing it. So, you know, obviously like we were going to be working on stress, you know, some things like that. So it wasn't just, you know, hey, I'm going to do a top 40 song, you know, it really did pertain to what you were doing.
Yeah. And then people will tell me, they're like, I had that song stuck in my head all day. And what it does though, is it gets them thinking like, okay, you know, I do need to take time for self-care. And the points that she made are true. Like at the end, I say, get a massage, say no more, set up boundaries. That's what I'm talking about. It resonates with people, it sticks with them because I make it fun and it makes it more approachable and makes them really think like I've got to get this into action.
You know, and you're right, it does. It sticks with us because everybody always says, well, you know, you need to do this, you need to do this, and they're the talking head. But when we have the rap song, now we might not get it right, you know, but it's going to go through our heads again.
Right. Or at least if I guide them to, I like to provide resources or get them thinking, because here's the thing too, when I've coached and I've had some really difficult people, I found that when I'm not getting through them, I can only tell you so much. They have to want to do it on their own. I'm not telling them what to do. I'm a guide and I'm providing resources. And what I like to do is personalize those experiences for each individual, because what excites you and motivates you is totally different from the Larry down the street, you know? And that's why you can't have a cookie cutter program, in my opinion. It needs to be personalized.
So, you know, we were talking that LinkedIn is so professional, and we tend to think that it's so serious. Do you put your rap and your songs in your videos on LinkedIn?
I do.
I love
It's
it. And
kind of
that's
what
part
I'm
of
known
being
for.
authentic.
It is. And that's the thing, when I'm, like I said, with friends or
Mhm.
people, I'll just start randomly singing and
Mhm.
anywhere, or start dancing or
Mhm.
goofing around. And that's just part of my
Mhm.
personality. And I brought it into, and songs will just come into my head, and then
Mhm.
they inspire me
Mhm.
to talk about a certain topic, or
Right.
sometimes it's the other way around.
Mhm.
So my creative muse,
I
essentially.
love it.
Mhm.
And clearly that's not everybody. There'd be no
No.
way I could do something like that. And because I would get so focused on trying to do it right,
Mhm.
it'd just be, but, and so it's as you're saying, we have to find what works for us.
Right.
Some of the greatest videos that I've seen are people when they're outside,
Yes, I love those.
and it's like, well, but you're a business person and you do this. How does, but they're more relaxed. They're
Right.
enjoying nature. They're hoping that the bird doesn't get them when it flies over. I mean, all these various things, but it is something that, again, it's showing their personality.
But I love that you bring that up, because the bloopers to me are my favorite part.
Oh yeah.
And when I had my
Mhm.
business and I had a team and I was
Mhm.
having like everyone edit for me,
Mhm.
I would actually have them put the bloopers in the front.
I love it. Mhm.
Or sometimes I'll do a video. There's a video I have where my earring literally falls off in the middle of the video,
Whoops.
but
Mhm.
I leave it in there because it gives it people laugh at
You're
it.
human. I mean,
Yeah.
it's yeah.
And
Mhm.
it's not supposed to be so. Was my message still
Right.
good? Did it make you laugh a
Mhm.
little bit? Great,
Mhm.
So leaving those imperfections, if a bird poops on you, I mean, that's kind of
Yeah, if
funny.
you're outside, then that's what might happen.
Yeah,
A
I
bug
love
get you
that.
something. So, but
Well, and
and go ahead.
I was to say, like you said, everyone has their thing. Like, I think I
Mhm.
had a call with someone once and they're like, I don't know what to do that's different. And I just started asking questions, and he said he really liked games. I was like, well, why can't you create a little game out of your video, or,
Mhm.
show people new games that they can play? Or how do you make a game at
Mhm.
work as far as being competitive,
Mhm.
to make it fun? There's
Mhm.
so many things you can do out of what you love doing,
Mhm.
basically.
Right.
Just got to think outside the box.
Yeah, and it comes back to, as we were saying, showing your personality. And
Right.
I think, if you have bloopers, if whatever you do, you don't have your lighting right, all these various things,
Mhm.
people aren't watching expecting an Oscar-worthy performance.
Right.
They're watching to get to know you. Now, that
Yeah.
said, it still has to be good audio. I mean, there's the thing that we'll
Mhm.
forgive bad video, but if you can't hear it, it's not any good.
Right.
You still have to look professional. You can't have, something it's so incredibly distracting behind you that's all they focus on.
Right.
There is a level of skill that you have to do, and so it does come back to kind of thinking about it. Where are you going to be, and all those various
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. And I think that when you take the time to be intentional about
Mhm.
it, or even sometimes even when you spontaneously do
Mhm.
it, as long as you're intentional and headphones are
Mhm.
always good for the
Right.
sound. I do recommend subtitles. I've been doing them so long without subtitles.
Mhm.
Eventually, maybe I'll do them,
Yeah, I
but
don't do subtitles.
or captioning or
Mhm.
whatever. But when
Mhm.
I sing, it makes it like a little bit more difficult.
Mhm.
But they do say the engagement rate is higher because
Mhm.
a lot of people are listening without the sound.
Mhm.
But I think that's part of the personality, is hearing the
Mhm.
tone and the inflection in the voice
Right.
as well.
Right.
So the
Yeah, it's
people
just
that,
like if you're watching closed caption TV,
yeah,
even if it puts the little music notes there, it's like you're not hearing that they're singing.
right. The people that are really interested in you are going to read the entire post. They're going to
Mhm.
watch the video. They're not always going to watch the whole thing,
Right.
but those are going to be your potential
Mhm.
clients, really. And that's who you want to be
Mhm.
working with, someone that's going to actually pay attention, not
Mhm.
just watch you to watch you.
Right. Yeah, and yeah, you can have some videos that are just kind of the funny ones, but it is like we said, this is LinkedIn. You
Right.
should be trying to, maybe not trying to sell something,
Mhm.
because it might be that it's a series of informational type of videos,
Right.
and some things like that. And so again, it needs to be intentional, and you mentioned it, think like you're talking to that one other person. And are you going to say, well, you need to buy this product from me because it's the greatest thing in the world? Or are you going to say, hey, you know, I saw this thing that was talking about the importance of, you know, how you're doing your marketing, you know, whatever it is, because that's where we build those relationships. And then they go, oh yeah, I remember Toni talked about that and she's really cool. So I need to go back and work with her.
Right, right. I think that's what people enjoy the most because I call it the velvet hammer.
Mm-hmm.
I really kind of get to the root or the core. So I'm able to deliver not the happiest news,
Right.
but it still comes across as that it doesn't hurt their feelings
Right.
or get them upset because of my delivery process and how the entire program is when working with me. And that's important.
Right. Well, and when you're working with people, you're getting down sometimes to really basics. And if you pussyfoot around it, they might not get it, you know,
Right.
and so it's not that you're being, you know, you certainly can't be cruel or mean, but you know, with anything, you know, I work with people doing media training, and one of the things that, you know, that we always want to say is, you know, you're not moving, you're not doing this, and you know, and so you still have to tell them not to do that, but you don't want to say, oh my God, you idiot, you know?
Right.
Don't you know you
right.
have to sit still? And,
Yeah. I mean, but sometimes delivery, and that's part of the personal development part is people, I'm doing a series right now about feedback and how there's a certain way to give feedback. But one of the most important parts about giving feedback is being open to receiving it first.
Right.
And along with my coaching, I'll usually say when we're having one of those moments is, you know, before I get into this, is there any feedback that you could offer me about my coaching? Is there anything you'd like to see better? Is there any clarification that you need? Because I can always work on my delivery and it's not always perfect. And that also helps them to relax and they're not so guarded and defensive.
They're
when
not
I
thinking
go to
you're going
deliver.
to pick on me.
Yes. It's a team. I like to make it a team effort and they feel like I'm their partner versus like coach or consultant.
Right. You know, and as business people, you know, we're all told that we're to develop a product or a service that solves someone's pain. You know, and so we've got to find out what that is. And it really doesn't matter. You know, you're, you know, delving deep into someone's psyche. I might be talking about how they're going to use Facebook to do posts. But, you know, again, we have to get in there and say, okay, now this is, you know, this is the way you've been doing it. We might want to rethink it, you know, some things like that. So, you know, we're always wanting to do that, but I love asking them for feedback first.
Very good. I love that.
Cool. Very nice. Let's talk a little bit more about equipment and things like that, because, you know, it is something, you know, we mentioned, you know, the big mic here. Let me move it back into the picture. You know, people see this and they're like, oh my gosh, this is under $100 or $100 on Amazon. And it's a big microphone. Clearly you don't have a microphone like that and your sound is perfect. So I don't know, maybe I just wanted something big. Now I do have what we call a pop filter so that we're not getting the sounds, you know, when I pronounce things. I don't do headsets at all. You know, and I always tell my guests, you shouldn't be relying on the speakers on your computer because we get some feedback. And so actually what I have my little CIA earpiece here. You know, and so, and you know, and I used to do headsets and I'll tell you what, it's purely because I don't like that they mess up my hair. You know, that really is it.
Well, you know, it's funny that you say that because I couldn't find my darker pair. So it's driving me nuts that these are white and they stand out so much.
Seen. Yeah, you know, and you know, you just need to do what works. And this, the funny thing is, of course, it's just in one ear. This ear is, you know, it can hear. And so that's kind of weird to be able to, but it's, yeah, I mean, it was just a personal preference and somebody suggested it. I thought, oh, I'll try it. But yeah, so it's my little CIA earpiece.
I love that. I think I'm going to have to hook myself up with one of those.
It's, you know, I like it. The one thing that I did discover, since we're sharing tips and secrets about, you know, how to do all of this stuff, it clamps onto the back of my shirt and I won't unclamp it because what'll happen is I'll unclamp everything and lose everything. But it is actually designed for police. And so they would have it on their walkie-talkie. And so it's got what's known as a quick release. And so because they might not need to not be talking, or, things like that, or paying attention to what's going on. And so what was happening with me is I turned my head and it would come disconnected. So, I had to use the handy dandy Scotch tape and, fix it so that it doesn't have that anymore. And then it plugs
Did you
straight
get that
into
on Amazon?
It did. Yep. Got it on Amazon. I'm an Amazon
what's it
girl.
called? Me too.
I have to look, but it's like tactical earpiece or something like that. I mean, it really is for
I'm taking a note.
Yeah. And I like it because it fits right in your ear. You don't realize that you've got it on unless you see the funny little cable here.
Right.
But it's got really good sound. And it plugs right into the microphone. And so that eliminates some of the feedback. I do have a separate camera, but it's just one of the Logitech cameras. I have it on a tripod because I have big monitors. And so if it was at the top of my monitor, we'd be doing this. And, and so I have it so that I'm staring almost straight at it, so that's a little bit better. And this microphone actually came with a desktop stand. And the first time I used it, I waved my arms and knocked it over. And the second time I used it, I just barely tapped my desk and it sounded like an explosion. So I have the swing arm that, that is what I use. But, I do this several times a week. And so I do need a little bit different equipment.
Right.
All of my equipment, it doesn't even add up to nearly $500.
Right.
And so, but yeah, so many people do have a phone that is more than adequate, or, they've got a laptop that's got a camera built in. The only thing I suggest is to have some type of separate headphones.
I agree with that. Well, and like I said, it depends on if you are a solopreneur or, you're an entrepreneur, you're just starting out, or maybe you're a small business.
Right.
The small businesses, I do recommend that they have something that's for the company, not just the individual, because you don't want everything stored on the individual's phone. You want it to be, company. So invest, it's very, very inexpensive to just get the starting stuff to get it off the ground.
Yeah.
And I get all my stuff on Amazon too. So I got my little tripod with the selfie light on there, and it works just fine,
Right.
For me, I'm more about consistency, and because people are used to me being everywhere, and so my brand's a little bit different.
Right.
But the important thing about a business too is not to have that stale background with the business too, because no one's, really going to pay attention to that. So being versatile, and that's where you maybe hire someone, or you have your marketing person help you to put together a content strategy. So you say, okay, we'll do these videos here, but then maybe we're going to shoot some outside, or maybe we'll do them with this background. So kind of changing it up. Now, a lot of people like to keep the same background. I, again, think that's boring for video. I like to see the people outside, and I think it shows versatility, and it does help them to relax.
Right.
But as far as equipment, I definitely agree with the sound and making sure that you're looking into the camera or your phone camera, because a lot of people will hold you look at a lot of my old videos, I was like, oh yeah, like I'm looking to the camera, and I wasn't.
Right.
And so that's something that's really important. They want to see your eye contact in the camera.
Right.
But as far as editing goes, I used to, you can hire an editor, or if you really want to get professional stuff done, there's a company called Shusta that I highly recommend. And they can do everything. They'll send you the actual camera and the equipment, and they coach you on everything. Also, Camtasia is a very
that's what I use.
Yeah, very easy, user-friendly. And I've tried so many, and I get frustrated because I don't want to deal with that.
Right.
But Camtasia, and then Magisto is another one, magisto.com for editing. Right. But just keep it simple.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because again, people aren't expecting they expect quality, but not something where it's obvious that you spent $10,000 doing it. Now there might be a need in your business for that type of video. It might be a sales video or something like that. But yeah, when you're just doing this type of thing, it's perfectly fine for it to be, a little less polished.
I agree. So there's different, like you're saying, there's different types of marketing materials that, a promotional video, an informational video, something that's going to sit on your website. You might want to look a little bit more polished. that's when you might want to bring in someone to edit it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But also, if you're going to write a script, I recommend that you write the script, you practice it, but you try not to read the script.
Yes. Don't be going do 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 do, right? Because
No.
your eyes, if not your head, your eyes are at least going to follow it.
Yeah. Yeah. And also you need to trust and believe in yourself that you are an expert in what you're talking about. And, no one's going to, they don't want to hire someone that's, you have to read what the law is. Well, and you're a lawyer. I mean, so.
Right. Yeah. Now I read my guests' bios at the start of every program. And, some of them are like 2 sentences and then some of them are longer, but I'm not going to memorize it. And so I have to read it to make sure that it's correct. But what I do is I almost had major disaster. That's another thing. If you have things sitting on your desk, watch when you're talking with your hands. We could have had a really sticky mess there.
Oh no.
So when I'm reading it, it's actually right in front of me. So I'm not looking up here to read it or over there or anything like that. And then I hide it, so that then I'm looking again at you.
Right. There's actually a way too. So I'm taking acting classes to kind of work on, and it's actually really good for personal development. I needed something that was more creative.
Right.
And because I want to develop this skill more. And my goal is to be doing commercials or be a spokesperson for a wellness brand. And, but they teach you how to look at to read off of the paper. And so that's something that you can maybe practice in the beginning too, or maybe take an acting class or go to Toastmasters. If you're afraid of speaking publicly, it's good to get involved and get feedback from other people.
And we're not going to be perfect to start with. I look back at some, I'm like, oh, that's embarrassing. And I leave them there, because it's, it shows how we're going through and there are things that happen. I mean, you almost knock your lemonade over, phones ring, all these various things. But, but that is, again, that's part of who we are. And now clearly there are things that we also need to watch, like your tone of voice. Do you say, a lot? Yeah. Do you a lot? That's
I just did
a
video about that actually. I used to do the a lot. I'm still working on the likes and the knows. But once I told people that if you watch yourself enough and you practice the pause, people are so uncomfortable in that space of silence. But it actually is really impactful for your content as well. If you pause versus filling it in with an or or you like. Great advice.
Yeah. It's funny, see, and then of course, once I start thinking about it, I get very self-conscious about it, but it's just how I talk. So, but I was a guest on someone's program one time and it was a short thing, like maybe 20 minutes. She mentioned that she spends many hours editing. And I'm like, holy schmoly. Oh, wow. She edits out every all of those things. And when I listened to it, now granted, I was listening to myself, it sounded so stilted that it was uncomfortable for me to listen to it because it was awkward, because we have those things where we go, and that's just part of our conversation.
Right. That's interesting. That seems almost counterproductive. You might as well at least practice on removing it versus, but like you're saying, it's a natural part too. You're not going to completely remove them all. And it's, most of us talk like that. That's normal. It would sound weird if we didn't. And if you're thinking about it too much, then you start to sound weird.
And the funny thing is you don't realize that you do it so much until you're watching and you're like, oh, I didn't know that I said that so many times or moved, there's so many people that move or, all sorts of things. You don't realize that you do that till you watch the video. And so one of the things I really want to encourage folks is don't let that discourage you. Again, that's just part of doing this and you will get better with it. And some of it just is always there.
Yeah. A lot of people tell me that they're uncomfortable watching themselves on camera. And this is a little, I guess, a personal development or self-development practice that I would recommend. So I'm sure you've heard of affirmations. Okay. one of my clients, actually, she teaches mindfulness, and she's been talking about affirmations. And when I've gone to a couple of her talks, I'll tell people, practice looking into the mirror and telling yourself that I love you. And I tell people, I caution you, because this is going to be more difficult than you think it is. If you look in the mirror and you say, I love you. So, the first time I did it, no, I started crying. I was like, oh my goodness, like, why can't I, it's because we really do have to love ourselves and appreciate ourselves before we can go out there and just be ourselves. I mean, and people can see that. They can see that through the video. And if you're comfortable with who you are, then that's what makes people comfortable being around you.
And it's funny when I watch videos of people, sometimes I'm thinking, ooh, do they not know what they look like? Well, of course they do. But, if they were trying, they're not, part of it was I'm probably not who they're trying to reach. And but sometimes it is distracting, because I get, and maybe it's because I do this, because I do get caught up in watching them and those things. And so, it's kind of like the thing, maybe I should see if I could give them a little feedback that, don't be doing it as a selfie, because we really don't need to look up your nose the whole time, my favorites are the women who hold it high and then we have bosom. And I'm like, no, that's not what we're selling either. And it's funny because men definitely seem to be more stilted when they because they're, we have to be serious type of thing. So it's interesting, but get feedback from other people, ask them. And so maybe don't put your very first ones on LinkedIn, but practice a couple times, have people you work with and that will give you good feedback, have them look at it and tell you.
Right. I completely agree. And getting feedback and being comfortable with receiving that feedback and not taking it personally is very important. And it's interesting that you bring that up about the women, because it's interesting, because it's a very careful line that you want to be yourself. And we seem to have more. I just did a post for International Women's Day about how business would be boring without women. Because we really kind of do. We bring the spark. But then I think men take this the wrong way, like we're trying to be sexy or flirty but it's like, no, just because we're comfortable being ourselves more so than men sometimes doesn't mean it should be taken in a sexual way. And I observe the comments that are being made on my posts, and I say, okay, maybe I'm coming across a certain way that I don't mean to be coming across. It's very important to pay attention to that, because we don't want to be, I personally don't want to be using my sexuality or appearances to be getting business.
We're not selling that.
No. And I want to make a really good point. Not paying attention, especially in the beginning, you're automatically want to say, how many views am I getting? How many likes am I getting? How many comments? Provide value. That is the most important thing. If you figure out who your avatar is or who your target audience is, and every time you go to create a video, say, am I providing this person value? They can walk away and I've made them think, or they want to take action because of my content. That's the most important thing, because the algorithm will continue to change. I had a video that got maybe like 70 views the other day, and then some of them get like 7,000 views. So you just have to be consistent. The key. And that's why
sometimes you might have one that's seen by one, and it's the right person that's like, they needed to see that right then.
Yeah. People get so fixated. I'm like, if you really provide good, valuable content, and you're very intentional with your content strategy, then you will attract the ideal customer. And knowing who that is so important. Most people don't, they go, I want to help everyone.
No, everyone is not your client.
No. Who's your ideal client?
So see, I always have to stop and think about it. I work with senior level executives on how to best use LinkedIn as a professional tool for themselves, for their own personal branding.
Right. That's beautiful. And I work with thought leaders that are in the wellness space and personal and professional development, but mostly thought leaders and people that are out there with innovative ideas or services that are out there, like really transforming people's lives that people think are new, but they're really not. I mean, like alternative healthcare solutions and organic and
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
Those
I mean,
predate
yeah.
everything.
I love how everyone thinks it's new, but it's not.
No.
But just bringing to the awareness that this is the way that I believe that we should be eating and practicing healthcare, because it's so much better for your body and for your mind without the chemicals and the drugs, if you don't have to use those.
Yeah.
So,
and when you know who that is, and I've talked about this before on other programs, and then I mentioned it a little bit ago that I'm uncomfortable just talking to nothingness, have a picture of that person or something that represents them, so that you're talking to them. So if you're dealing, if your target market is, women over 55 years old, then have a picture of somebody like that you're talking to.
Yes, it's interesting that you bring that up. So I took a course called Influence Academy, which I do highly recommend. And she actually tells you to create a picture of your avatar, put their name, their title, and literally say, are you providing this person value right now? And give them a name. Mine's Carmela. That's her name.
It seems like you'd have a Carmela.
That's actually my nonna, my grandma's name. And I just love it so much. So, but she's full of life. But my target, age is 45, but it's getting into more than just the demographics. It's like, what do they do after work? What do they read? What kind of people are they following? Books are they reading? Movies are they watching?
Right.
It's not just how old are they? Are they married? Are they single? Where do they live?
Because with what you do, they have to be open to alternative methods and alternative healings. And because, that is a big part of it, is if they're not, you're just talking to a brick wall,
right?
And so, it's finding out a little bit about that, and then using your message, your video, to get that across to people, because it's okay. And I tell people this all the time. And of course, for small business owners, they're like, no, it's okay to turn people away. If they're not a good fit, you're not going to give 100%. They're going to know it. So isn't it better that they go somewhere where they are going to get 100%?
Right. And that's why having a qualifier, so having qualifying questions, I do the Discovery Questionnaire, is so important, because I can tell usually before I even speak with them if this is going to be an ideal client for me. And I have let people go even after maybe one month or a couple sessions, because I'm like, this isn't a good fit. You're not doing the work, and it's a waste of both of our time. So, and a waste of money.
Right.
In my opinion.
And it's a funny thing, because you're turning money away.
Right.
But it has to be that good fit. I mean, we all could work with whoever and make however much, but it comes back to, like we were saying at the very start, it needs to be fun. It needs to be enjoyable. And if you're thinking, I have to work with that client again. Now, are there going to be days like that? Sure. And I tell people, there's always, there are times where we're going to think, it's Monday. I have to get up and work. It's Monday. Now, of course, what we do, it's 24/7, right? But it's if you're continually doing that, then maybe they need to talk to you and say, oh my gosh, Toni, why am I feeling like this? What do I need to do? And that is one of those things, because as we grow, things change. When you were at the very start telling about how you got to where you were, I was thinking, oh, so I'd have to know what I want to be when I grow up.
I think that's the cool thing, though, and that's why I call it transformational coaching or consulting, because people come to me for one reason, and because I'm very honest and I say, this is my process, we're going to start off with your personal development first. If you don't like it, then I'm probably not the best fit for you. More than happy to refer you to someone else. And what I do with them is something called the Why Worksheet. And Simon Sinek has his video. I have my clients watch the video. There's a 7-minute version. And then I created my own Why Worksheet. And I say, there's no instructions on how to do this. I want you to just fill this out how you feel currently. And then our first session, we go through that why worksheet together. And this is, keep in mind, with people that are very, already self-aware, they're,
Right. So
practicing
they're open
mindfulness.
to, mm-hmm.
Yes. And when I go and some of them aren't,
Mm-hmm.
but I go through this with them and I say, okay, this is what you wrote. Keep in mind, nothing that you wrote is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going to have you look at this from this perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And usually 9 times out of 10, they're like, oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
And they have these huge breakthrough moments, right, and these huge paradigm shifts. And what they originally came to me for completely shifts and changes. And we end up going through a different direction. I say, if you're open to it, why don't we work on this for a couple weeks before we even get into the business stuff?
Right.
Because if you can't get peace in this area, then like I said in my quote, you're going to continue to get chaos and confusion in your business. Right. And no one wants to work with someone or buy a product or service like that.
Right. And we've all worked with people and know people who are like that, where that they're not working for the right reasons. They're and there's a variety of reasons why that's happening. And then of course the problem is they feel stuck. Well, we have to do this.
Right.
It's always a choice.
It is. I love that. That's a great mindset to have. I think a lot of the times, because we are programmed. So by the age of 35, Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about 95% of everything that we do is programmed in our subconscious. And either you can, once that's brought to your awareness, you can choose to keep replaying the tape over and over again, or you can choose to pick a different path. And that path, there's going to be lots of resistance, because you're literally, I tell my clients, you're literally changing your physiology, basically your body, your DNA, your mind, the way your brain thinks, how it's wired. It's all changing because you're breaking a pattern.
Right.
Literally. And I go, it's
kind of like tools. If you're right-handed and all of a sudden you have to be left-handed.
Yes. But and that's possible because you see all these people that have these crazy stories where they're missing limbs, or they've had but
they get an owie.
Yeah. And they just figure it out, and I think it's amazing. The mind and the body is capable of anything if you believe in that, and if you put the effort towards that.
Right. Right. Well, back to LinkedIn video. We didn't talk about LinkedIn Live video. And it's funny because I don't have that option yet.
I don't have it yet either,
so it's like, but it is something that is coming, and you can request it, and I request it, and I get shuffled off into nowhere. But I think at some point, I think it is going to be something that they do, because LinkedIn does tend to do a lot of things that Facebook does, and Facebook Live videos really go over pretty well. But I like that LinkedIn is rolling it out much more slowly. And I mean, in essence, it's just going to be exactly like it sounds. You're going to be doing a live video as opposed to recording it and editing it, and which is a totally different skill set. I mean, if I know I can edit out a big flub, that's really different than if I'm really doing it live.
Right. Well, and I think a suggestion there would be, a lot of people are doing interviews. And when you're having a conversation with someone, it's a little bit easier and it flows, and then people can engage and ask questions. I used to do a lot of Facebook Lives, and like you're saying, it requires a completely different skill set. So if that's something that you're not comfortable, I definitely wouldn't start there. And yes, you do have to request to be on there, and I haven't gotten it, which is,
Yeah, I have no, and the people who have it, I look at them and I'm like, okay, well, these aren't people who are big influencers. And so I don't know. It's just a random thing.
It's very random. I remember when I first got LinkedIn video, I was like, I just got LinkedIn video. I was at the airport. I was like, I had to do it. And just telling people that you're new too. I had my client, for her first video on LinkedIn, she said, this is my first LinkedIn video, and just, being honest and real, keeping it real with people.
Well, and we kind of touched on this, but I want to emphasize too, you don't have to do them all sitting at your desk. Depending on what you do, you can be out and about. I might want to do a quick little video before I go into a networking event, or, anything and everything. I mean, it's just, and we're not talking about recording something that's hours long or even minutes long. I mean, it could just be, oh my gosh, I am so excited to be here at this chamber event. We're going to be hearing whoever speaker, and I'll tell you more about it later. And that's it.
Well, I give a general guideline, and I actually have a 5-step video worksheet if people are interested. Just makes it really simple. And it's one, get their attention and state the problem. And I like to do three points. So 1, 2, 3. These are my 3 pointers for you. And then a call to action, and maybe just a little testimony or story as to why, the problem that you're solving works, basically. So keeping it simple. And as far as coming up with ideas, I tell my clients, keep a little notepad on your phone. Anything can become a video topic. A problem with a client, when you're out and about, you're observing things, just always write things down. And I literally have hundreds of ideas stored in my phone.
Because later on, you're going to go, oh my God, I had that great idea. And what was it?
Yep. So just keep it on your phone so you can just write your ideas down. And like I said, anything can become a video topic.
Right. And it's funny, that was one of the things that we were going to talk about, was the people who go, I don't know what to talk about. You do, because you get questions. Just think about the things that people ask you. Who is your target audience? That's a great thing. So you can say, hey, these are the people I like to work with. If that's you, that's great. If not, that's perfect. All these various things.
Right.
So, oh my gosh, Toni, we are almost at the top of the hour. This has been so much fun. Can't wait to do it again. But tell us a little bit more about what it is to work with you, and what services do you provide?
Yeah, thank you. So mostly when people are either starting and they need help with their brand messaging. So I can really help them clearly define what their value proposition is, with their mission, their vision statement, their core values, and how to articulate who they are and what they do and who they do it for in an elevator pitch.
Right.
That's the main thing. Or if they're going through a rebrand. So if they're trying to refresh their brand, that is something that I really focus on with people.
Okay.
The second thing is video strategy and ideation. So if you need ideas, if you can't think of ideas, I have them, and I'm very creative and helpful when it comes to the ideation part. And then the other thing, the third service, is spokesperson or brand ambassador. So if you don't want to get on video, you're not comfortable with that, if I believe in your brand, then I can help you with creating video for you.
And you're an influencer. We've talked about that before. And
a little bit, I mean,
but you're comfortable doing it. So that's part, to me, of why someone is an influencer, is they're comfortable. And as you mentioned, it's a product you believe in. So this is not, you're going to be hawking whatever. It's something that you believe in.
I've lived through it. I've gone through it. And I posted this yesterday on a post that said, you don't have to go to Bali to experience transformation. And I said, if you're interested in chatting, you're ready to bring your wellness program or retreat to life, let's talk. Because what I've found is, especially in this industry, if a marketing company or branding company hasn't gone through experience, they don't get it, and they do not know how to market it.
No.
And I've been through it. I've worked with these types of people. I've experienced it firsthand. I talk the talk, and I've walked the walk, and I still do. It's very important to me.
Great. And you can provide all of these services online, in person?
I do both.
Okay.
Obviously, if I need to shoot video, I mean, I can rent a studio, but I can come on site if needed. And I've been hired to go places. I can come in person. I can do it online. Yeah. I can do it. I've got clients all over the country.
So where do they find more information, and how do they connect with you?
Yeah. LinkedIn. So Toni Bubb, it's ToniBubb. And then I have a website. It's very simple, tonibubb.com. And and they can just reach out to me there.
Perfect. I love it. Well, we've only got a couple minutes left. So what final words would you like to leave everyone with?
Yeah. If you have an idea, if you know that what you're doing right now isn't what you're supposed to be doing, or if you love what you're doing, but you can't figure out how to do it, take some time to really figure out who you are and allow yourself to be in that moment without taking the action. And I'd like to leave them with the aha. And I got this from my healer. A lot of times we have these aha moments, and the aha means awareness, healing, and action.
Oh, I love it.
A lot of people skip over the healing. And my main recommendation would be is to take time in the healing before you take the action. And I guarantee the success that you take will be coming from your heart and your soul, and it will last, and you will truly make a difference in other people's lives.
Perfect. I love it. Well, Toni, I can't wait to talk again. This has been so much fun. And we didn't really delve into a lot of what you do. So when we're not talking LinkedIn specific, it'll be fun to have a different conversation. But until then, I'm Deb Creer. I've been talking with the fabulous Toni Bubb. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.